Hello, my fellow scientists. Welcome to another episode of Science is Everywhere, the home edition. My name is Marie Lanka, and I'm with the Children's Discovery Museum of San Jose, and I'm here today to continue with our celebration of Fun with Colors Week. So you may have remembered that the last time that we talked, we were talking about optical illusions and how these symbols all work together. So let's do a quick review. You had light that then bounced off of a thing, then went to your eye, and then those signals were sent to your brain. And in between these two steps is what we played around with in order to get your brain to think that something was there that may not have been, or at least decode it into thinking that it's something different. So let me give you another example. You may be looking at me right now and paying attention to my words. Did anyone notice that the background behind me may have changed? That just goes to show you how many things that your brain is paying attention to, and that some of those things it may be assuming or putting to the side and going, you know, I already know what that is. I'm not going to worry about it. Background probably wasn't something you were paying attention to, but you were probably paying attention to my words in this board right here. So just for fun, you might want to go back and check out that other video now that I've pointed that out to see what your brain may have just been going, you know, I know what that is. I don't need to look at it anymore. All right, so how are we going to switch this up? Well, today we're going to do another optical illusion that's called a zoetrope. And we're going to be using colors in order to create pictures that go along with it. So let's back up just a little bit. I said I was going to change this up. We're going to keep that light. I'm going to take this pen down. I'm going to put something else there. We're going to keep our eyes and our brain. Those are very important. If we don't have those, this experiment will not work. So here, I'm going to put a picture of, put a little stick person here. All right. We're going to do pictures today and fool the brain into thinking that those pictures are moving, even though that they are just regular pictures. So we're going to do that by making a zoetrope. And you may have seen something like this. So once we start to get to making it, you might go, oh yeah, I've seen one of those in real life. So let's talk about what we're going to need in order to do this. You're going to need a piece of cardstock, and that just means thicker paper. You're also going to need your colors. Pick your favorite colors. Again, I highly recommend washable markers if you've got them. You are also going to need a pencil, for actually multiple reasons. Put that right there. And you're going to need one of these. That is a safety pin. Put that there. You're also going to need, I have a can of soup. You're going to need this shape. Okay, so if you can find a can of soup, I find that that works the best. I know we use cans of soup a lot. And you're also going to need a duplo block or one of those bigger Legos. You can also use the end of a ruler, and I'll show you how to do that in a few minutes, but this is usually the easiest. And you're going to need a pair of scissors. So those are already on my desk, so we will grab those when we need them. Those are all the different materials you're going to need to put this zoetrope together. All right, so let's try to put this together first, and then we'll go ahead and explain how. So before we get started with that, here's what I want you to think about. What do you want to draw? If you could draw a cartoon, something that moves, what would that be? So think about that. If you need to pause the video, go ahead and do that. And as soon as you have something simple, let's put together a zoetrope. Okay, my fellow scientists, so as you can see, we have quite a few pieces for this experiment. All right. Here are the steps, and I will say we're going to fast forward through a couple of them just because they take a little while, and I don't want to go ahead and take up most of your time with that, but you can have fun with it at home. All right, so the way I'm going to start is I'm going to clear out my workspace just a little bit, keep my pen to get rid of my pens and my pencil, and let's see, let's hold on to that for now, and we're just going to move scissors for now as well as safety pin. So this is what we're going to need, especially this shape and this shape to start. So to make the base or the bottom of your zoetrope, you're going to need this circle, okay? So I'm just going to pick part of my cardstock, and I'm going to trace bottom. So I have a, can you name that? That's a circle, right? Okay. Then from here, now I'm going to need to use my block. Something else that you might use is the very end of a ruler. That'll work too, because all we're going to do is we're going to be making flaps that go all the way around this circle. So we're going to add these squares to the circle. So you want to put one at the top and hold it down, and you're going to go ahead and trace around it. Now again, just like everything else, this doesn't have to be perfect. We're just making kind of guidelines. So there's my first one, and you'll see I drew it down so it touches the circle, so I didn't actually draw another line on this side. Then go all the way down to the bottom and draw one on the opposite side. And now it should look like, almost like two little wings. Okay, now we're going to go and do one to the left. And again, these are just sketched out, so don't be really hard on yourself if it doesn't look absolutely perfect. So you can tell I got a tail right there, not a big deal. I'm going to go to the other side, make another one. We're just getting a general shape here. Okay, so now it looks like I have north, south, east, and west, my 4 directions. So you notice there's little windows here. Guess what we're going to put there? You got it. We're going to trace more of these guys. Okay, so put one in between here. Like that. I'm just going to go to the opposite way because that's what I've been doing. Okay. And put one right here. And one more over there. Okay. All right. So there we go. So there is the base of my zoetrope. This is what it looks like when it's flat. So now what I'm going to do is I can leave all of my lines, but I am going to cut these out. And you see how it's a little crowded right there? I'm going to cut a little further in here. So instead of cutting on this line that I traced, maybe I'll go a little bit like that. So it's got room. And again, that's why you're just using these as guidelines. They're not going to be something you're going to cut actually on. And you actually don't need to erase anything. The pencil should be just fine. All right, so let's go ahead and cut this out. And this is where we're going to go ahead and start our fast forward. But before I do that, a tip for cutting these out, I find that it's easier if you start and go along the outside like this, and then go and cut those in afterwards. Okay, so let's go ahead and cut this out. All right, folks. So that should be your flat zoetrope. Okay, so now the way zoetropes work is they are a series of pictures or figures sometimes if they're not flat. We're going to use pictures because art is flat. That change just a little bit every time the picture or the figure goes on to something else. So picture, little bit of a change. Next picture, what does it look like? Little bit of change. Next picture, what does it look like? Okay, so for mine, what I'm going to do is, first of all, I'm going to put on a glove, and we talked about this before. When you draw, sometimes this part of your hand goes across what you've drawn and smears it, and I find this kind of helps out to do that. You don't have to do this, but this just helps me out. You know, left-handers, sometimes that helps you out as well because you're writing over the top. Okay, so I'm going to choose this flap, and this is where I'm going to start. This is going to be my first part of my picture. So bring my pens back. Okay, so up here, going to start with a color, and I'm going to draw the first part of what I want to animate, what I want my picture to look like when it's moving. So first thing you're going to see is that. Okay? So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put that on every single one of these all the way around, because that's going to be the same, and I'm going to add to this picture every time it changes. Okay? Turn it a little bit. Go. Turn it a little bit. Turn it a little bit. Turn it a little bit. A little bit. You kind of get the idea. The same picture in every single one. The best you can. They're going to look a little bit different because obviously you're drawing it multiple times. If it helps, you can put a little mark on your first one, and we'll just erase that later. So a little itty bitty mark in the corner to say, okay, that was my first part of this picture. Okay, put my pen back. Okay, so that is going to be the first picture that you see. Shifting over to the next one, I want something to change, but just something small, a small change. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to pick my next color, and I'm going to just put the next color there underneath. Okay. So now what did I do for the first one? I repeated that for the rest of them, right? Okay. So I'm going to remember this was my next change because that was my first one. So everything after that until I get back to here is going to have that second line. Okay. So turn it. That second line. Turn it. Second line. Okay, I'm going to leave this one alone because that was my first one. Okay, cap on. All right, so now that was my first step. That was my second step. Now for the third one, I wanted to change a little bit again. So I'm going to add one more color to it. So there's step 3. Okay, move it over. Just like the other ones, just adding that third step to all of them. All right. And I'm going to stop there because that was my first one, right? Okay, first one, second one, third one. Okay, so here's my fourth change. Again, I just want a little bit of a change, right? Okay. There we go. Now, sometimes one of the hardest parts of this is trying to decide what am I going to put together that has multiple pictures with it. Okay. So you could do, now I'm doing a rainbow, you could do a sunrise, I've seen ocean waves, faces. So sometimes that's the hardest part of deciding what you're going to do. Okay, first step, back to the first one. Second step, third step, fourth step. Okay, now I want my fifth one, my fifth change, right? Okay, keep going with that rainbow. And remember, as soon as you get back to that first step, you're going to stop. So again, every time we go to a new tab, a little something is changing. Okay, I'm back to that first step again. Okay, so first step, second step, third step, fourth step, fifth. Here's my sixth. Okay, let's see, what do I want to do? Oh, wait a minute, I got an idea. Go back to that 1 again, right? So I stop. Okay, so here's my first step, count with me. Second step, third step, fourth step, fifth, sixth, seventh. I think on this one, I'm going to go back. And underneath a rain cloud, you need a couple of things for a rainbow, I should say. You need water and you need sun. So I'm going to put water droplets underneath. 1, 2, 3. Now, same thing. When I go to this next step, when I made that a little difficult for myself, I'm going to switch it over. Make that raindrop here, one on the side, on the other side. But I still have this last step, right? Because here I am back to first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh. What do I want to change here? Well, I said I needed 2 things for a rainbow, right? What am I missing? I'm missing the sun, right? I'm missing light. I'm going to put, for my last step, the sun. Right there. All right. So now we have all of our pictures, and each of them, starting with the first one, has an addition to it. So I had that first line, 2 lines of the rainbow, 3 lines of the rainbow, 4, all the way over to when I got to my sun. So now how are we going to put this together? Because it's flat right now. It doesn't really help us out. Okay. So I'm going to move my pins, give myself some workspace, get my pencil back, and my safety pin. Now, in the middle of this, because we want to make this so it is 3-dimensional, so it's actually folded up and we can use it to look through. So I'm going to need to make this something other than flat, because right now that doesn't really work so well. So I'm going to put a dot about in the middle. Just guess. You can measure if you really want. I just go ahead and guess. I want that pencil. Then take your safety pin, and you can do this with a pair of scissors as well. I would just tell you to just be careful when you're doing that. Go ahead and poke a hole right in the middle. You can turn it over. See that there too. Okay. Now, you see how we've got these little pencil lines left over? We're going to use those. The way we're going to use those is we're going to fold up on those lines. So about like that. Okay. Turn it over, fold it up. And just keep turning and folding. And the reason why we do the hole in the middle first is because once these are folded up, it's a little hard to do that part. But if you make a mistake and start folding first, not the end of the world, you can always go back. Okay, so now that we have this folded up, we've got our little flaps. So this is going to help with something called animation. That's going to help us see these pictures in a way that's going to fool our brains into thinking that it is something that is actually one motion. Okay, so the way you finish this is you've got your little hole in the bottom there, kind of a guide hole. You're going to take your pencil and carefully poke that through until it is through the center like that. Now you may need to tape this. If you have a pencil that has some rougher edges, sometimes that'll hold, so that's up to you. Now the way we're going to use this is we're going to look through these and see pictures on the other side, and just like a cartoon, when these start to speed up, our brain is going to put them together. So let's check this out. Okay, so you have your completed zoetrope. Here's how we're going to make this work. We're going to be looking through, like I said, the little slits in the side to the picture that's on the other side. And the way you want to start it is think of where you put that X, your first picture, And that's the picture you want to see first. And sometimes you want to close one eye and just look out over the other one. That works best. So if I was to get this close, just like you were looking at this, let's see if I can do it with the camera. There we go. There's my first picture, right? Okay. If I start spinning it, you start to see the other pictures, right? What if I start spinning it faster? You start to get the illusion of movement or things changing. So how does that work? What's going on there? All right, so we've got our light. It's bouncing off of our pictures. Our eyes are seeing it and then sending that information to the brain. Well, at a certain point, that information is coming so fast that the eyes and the brain start to think that it is moving versus one picture or another. Your eyes and your brain can identify about 10 to 12 separate images per second. Anything faster than that, it starts to blend together, and that's where you start to see motion. Now, we probably couldn't spin this fast enough to actually get 10 to 12 pictures per second, but you kind of get an idea of how that could start to happen. So all of your cartoons, all of your stop motion, anything animated, that's what they're doing, is they're taking a picture of something, moving it slightly, taking another picture, moving it slightly, and doing a whole bunch of frames per second, a whole bunch of those pictures per second, in order for you to see that moving. So there's another optical illusion, having fun with our colors while we're at it. If you have any ideas or pro tips on what else I could do in terms of the type of zoetrope, I would love to take any suggestions. We'll put the hashtag down below. Love to see everybody's different ideas, because I will tell you my little secret, I always do the rainbow. So if you've got some other suggestions for me, I'm in, I'll do them. So thanks a lot for tuning in today. There's another optical illusion with our fun with colors, making a zoetrope, and we will see you at our next episode of Science is Everywhere.
Thank you for watching our virtual Purple Museums broadcast. If you're enjoying this content, please consider making a donation to support our efforts. Our broadcasts are every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Stay in the loop by joining our email list by visiting www.cdm.org. Sign up today.